For over a century, BMW has built everything from tiny bubble cars to V10-powered super sedans and futuristic hybrid sports cars that look like they belong in a Marvel movie. But out of all the cars BMW has ever created, only a few truly changed the company forever. Some saved BMW from bankruptcy, some dominated motorsport, and others became cultural icons that enthusiasts still obsess over decades later. So today, we're looking at 10 of the most iconic and important BMWs ever made, the cars that shaped BMW into the brand we know today.
And trust me, this list has everything. Race cars so dominant they got banned, weird German engineering experiments, legendary M cars, and at least one vehicle that looks like a refrigerator with wheels. Somehow, all of them helped build BMW's legacy.
BMW i7, the bubble car that saved BMW. When people think about iconic BMWs, they usually picture aggressive M cars sliding sideways through corners while the owner explains why turn signals are optional. But one of the most important BMWs ever made was actually the tiny BMW i7, a car so small it looked like it should come free with a toaster. Back in the 1950s, BMW was struggling badly after World War II. Luxury cars weren't selling, money was running out, and the company's future looked extremely uncertain. Honestly, there's a real possibility BMW could have disappeared completely if the i7 arrived at the perfect moment. Now, technically, the i7 wasn't even originally a BMW design. It was an Italian-designed microcar that BMW licensed and improved. But despite its strange appearance, the little bubble car became a massive success. It was powered by a tiny 247cc one-cylinder motorcycle engine, producing just 13 horsepower. And yes, 13 horsepower sounds less like a car and more like a determined lawnmower. But during that time, Europe desperately needed cheap and fuel-efficient transportation. The i7 delivered exactly that. It was affordable, economical, and incredibly simple. BMW sold more than 160,000 examples in just 7 years, and those sales basically kept the company alive. And honestly, the car itself was hilarious. The entire front of the car opened as the door, meaning getting inside felt less like entering a vehicle and more like climbing into a microwave. If you parked too close to a wall, congratulations, you now lived inside your BMW permanently. But jokes aside, the i7 is arguably the reason BMW still exists today. Without this tiny bubble-shaped hero, there's no M3, no M5, no straight-six engines, and no BMW performance legacy. Every iconic BMW that came afterward owes something to this weird little egg on wheels. BMW 3.0 CSL, the original Batmobile. The BMW 3.0 CSL was BMW's way of telling the racing world that subtlety was no longer an option. Based on the beautiful E9 coupe, the 3.0 CSL was created as a homologation special for the European Touring Car Championship. Basically, BMW needed to build road-going versions of its race car so it could legally compete. But instead of making something mild and sensible, BMW engineers decided to create one of the coolest touring cars ever made. The L in CSL stood for leicht, meaning lightweight. BMW went full engineering madness trying to reduce weight. They used thinner steel, aluminum body panels, and Perspex windows just to save kilograms. Modern manufacturers celebrate saving 5 kilograms with lightweight cup holders, while BMW in the 1970s practically deleted half the car in pursuit of speed. Under the hood sat a naturally aspirated straight-six engine that eventually grew to 3.2 liters. But the real magic was the aerodynamic package. By 1973, the CSL gained giant fender fins, a roof spoiler, and a massive rear wing so dramatic, the car earned the nickname Batmobile. And honestly, it deserved the name. The thing looked absolutely insane for its era. Some countries even forced BMW to deliver the giant rear wing in the trunk because it wasn't road legal. Imagine buying your new BMW and the dealer casually hands you a giant spoiler separately, like it's flat-pack furniture. The CSL dominated touring car racing and helped establish BMW's motorsport identity. More importantly, it laid the foundation for BMW's future M cars. Without the CSL, there's probably no M division as we know it today. Fast forward decades later, and BMW revived the CSL name in 2023 with an ultra-exclusive modern tribute. Only 50 were built, and each one cost more than most houses, which is pretty impressive for a car whose spiritual ancestor was basically built to annoy Ford drivers on racetracks.
BMW 2002 Turbo, the car that created BMW's identity. The BMW 2002 Turbo is one of the most important performance sedans ever made because it basically created the DNA for every sporty BMW that followed. And the craziest part? The 2002 wasn't even planned. It accidentally happened because two BMW executives independently installed larger 2.0-liter engines into their personal 1600-2 models. Imagine company executives secretly modifying their cars in the parking lot like teenagers on a Saturday night. BMW noticed the demand for a lightweight, sporty sedan and developed the 2002. Suddenly, BMW had a compact rear-wheel drive car with excellent handling and a rev-happy engine. It completely changed the company's image. Then, in 1973, BMW introduced the 2002 Turbo, the company's first turbocharged production car. And for the early 70s, this thing was outrageous. The turbocharged 2.0-liter engine produced around 170 horsepower, which in a lightweight car back then felt absolutely wild. The turbo lag was legendary too. Nothing happened, then suddenly the turbo kicked in like the car had been possessed. The styling was just as dramatic. Aggressive box flares, spoilers, and the word turbo written backwards across the front spoiler so drivers ahead could read it in their mirrors before being overtaken. That is peak BMW confidence right there. Unfortunately, the 1973 oil crisis arrived almost immediately, and suddenly people weren't too interested in thirsty, turbocharged sports sedans. Only around 1,600 examples were built, making the 2002 Turbo incredibly rare today. But its importance can't be overstated. The 2002 established BMW as a manufacturer of sporty, driver-focused sedans. Without it, there's no M3, no M2, and no ultimate driving machine reputation. BMW M1, the supercar that started M Division. The BMW M1 is one of the wildest projects BMW ever attempted. In the late 1970s, BMW wanted to build a proper mid-engine supercar for racing. So, naturally, they partnered with Lamborghini, which honestly sounds like the beginning of either greatness or complete disaster. The partnership quickly fell apart due to Lamborghini's financial problems, but BMW refused to abandon the project. Instead, they continued development using ex-Lamborghini engineers. The result was the M1, the very first official BMW M car. Styled by legendary designer Giorgetto Giugiaro, the M1 looked more like an Italian exotic than a traditional BMW. Under the rear glass sat a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter inline-six, producing around 273 horsepower, paired with a dogleg manual gearbox. And while those numbers don't sound crazy today, back then, the M1 could reach around 162 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest BMWs ever built. BMW also created the Pro Car Championship specifically for the M1, where Formula One drivers raced identical M1s against each other. Imagine casually watching F1 legends throwing BMW supercars sideways around a circuit. But the M1's real legacy came afterward. BMW engineers developed such an incredible engine for the M1 that they eventually decided to place a version of it into a sedan. That decision created the first BMW M5. So while the M1 itself was rare and expensive, it indirectly gave birth to every M sedan that followed.